Welcome to my podcast, Shaping Your Journey. My guest in this episode is great Canadian drummer, Mark Kelso. Mark has performed and worked with many, many great artists such as Gino Vannelli, Herbie Hancock, Pat Metheny, Michel Bublé, and many, many others. He is past chair of the percussion department at Humber College in Toronto, and also winner of several Juno Awards, author, educator. Here is Mark Kelso. Hey, Mark, so great to see you, and thanks for being on the podcast, Shaping Your Journey. It's always great to see you and have you around. I mean, you've done so much. But before we get going on the theme of shaping your journey, let's start just to get this going. Where did it all start for you? Like, what was that first fire, that first spark that did it?
Oh, well, first of all, great to see you too, Aldo. It's been a while. You're looking good. Nice to see you and nice to talk to you, and thanks for having me on the show. For me, obviously, everything starts with my dad. My dad was what was known as a show band drummer in Belfast, Northern Ireland, when I was growing up. And he tells me stories of, me banging on everything, a really noisy kid. So there was a story of me at a rehearsal once. I think I was around 3. And he said that he was talking to the guys, and then he heard some tapping on the drums. He looked over, and I'd climbed up onto the drum seat somehow. And I was tapping, and my dad seemed to think that I was playing something that resembled something in time. And he thought, oh, interesting. He had the guys play something. And he said, I stopped, and I listened, and I started playing in time with the band. And then being my dad, he went, okay, hang on. Maybe it's just a fluke. Change it to 3/4. See if he catches the accent. And they changed it to a waltz. Okay. And he said, I stopped again and was like, and then I started accenting the 3, and my dad went, yes, he's going to be a drummer. Now, fast forward, I didn't really do anything until I came to Canada in 1972. And I got into the school band in grade 7, back when music was really, really a big deal in junior high schools and high schools, right? So, but I was playing tenor saxophone. So my dad was excited and then immediately disappointed. Said, oh, he tried to hide it, but he when I wasn't playing drums, he was like, saxophone's great, son, But then I said, but that's just in the concert band. I'm auditioning for the spot in the stage band, which is the jazz group, for drums. And he said, oh, no problem, you'll get it. So he kind of taught me, from when I was 12 to 13, and then I started just kind of listening to his record collection, which was, Gino Vannelli, Tower of Power, Earth, Wind and Fire, like a lot of really kind of what we would call kind of hip stuff back in the day. I wasn't really listening to just what all my friends were listening to, which was, rock stuff. So, and then he had some jazz stuff. He had some Max Roach stuff and some Art Blakey. So I was just grabbing all his records and listening to everything and then playing along with those, without knowing that it was kind of a sophisticated level of drumming. I just thought, okay, well, this is normal. This is where we start.
Nice.
And then from there, I took it on from there. But that's my whole thing is based on my father playing drums. Like, I think a lot of drummers that I know, their dad played drums or some kind of musical instrument. And it was always around growing up. So it just... through osmosis, you become engaged with it and a part of it, which I'm super happy. I'd hate to think of, if my dad was a plumber or something. Not that that's bad, but my life could have been totally different,
Yeah.
Especially in Belfast in Northern Ireland, so...
Yeah, of course. Okay. You just made me think of something really interesting. And it's funny you said that people's parents, like Todd Zuckerman, who we had recently, he had the same story. His father was a drummer, musician. You're in a musician family, Walfredo Reyes, all of that.
Yes.
But then you made me think of something else, because my father wasn't a drummer by trade. And in fact, I was born in Italy. I came to Canada and grew up and became a professional musician, was touring around the world with percussion, and I was playing with all kinds of people, and he would come to the concerts. I moved to Montreal I'm from Ottawa. So every time we'd go through Ottawa, the whole gang would be, my whole family, all 5,000 of them, would be in the theater and supporting everything I did. So you're guaranteed to sell the house just to have Aldo play, Aldo's group play, or whoever he's with. Yeah. But it was funny but not funny at the time. My brother was a writer living in Toronto and teaching at U of T. And at one point, he was writing poetry, great poetry, and he was a great performer. And the theme was the immigration and the loss of cultural memory.
Right.
Okay. So this was the theme, and I said I love it, and I love his works. So then we started. I wrote some music for one of the poems. I said, rather than presenting it, play this piece that I wrote with your voice on it. He did. Everybody loved it. I said, so let's do an album. So he came to Montreal. I recorded all his voice, all of that, and then started working on the album. Meanwhile, I'm going to Ottawa just for something else, visiting my parents. And we were one night, my father, after a party or something, picks up a frame drum I just happened to have left at home and starts playing the tamborello. Like a demon. Mark, I'm not
just out of nowhere.
I'm not joking. I mean, I'm like in my 30s, and I'm looking. I stopped. I said, Papa, like,
what's happening?
Wait.
Wait a second.
Where did that come from? And he was Mark, like the guy was playing incredible. I'm going to Los Angeles, New York, everywhere, studying with Glenn Velez, like anybody I could get my hands on to learn it properly, learn all the stuff. And I'm looking at him, I'm saying, you play better than anybody I know. And I said, so where did this come from? And so, oddly enough, I don't believe in coincidences. So he said, well, when you immigrate, you have to put everything aside. So I had no time for that. We did what we had to do.
Right.
And then, of course, I said, of course. This falls right in that loss of cultural memory.
That generation.
Yeah.
When was that? He probably came in the 50s?
He came at 49. Yeah.
I mean, and that was it. And then,
So I called my brother. I said, I just had a out-of-body experience with Father, and I'm confused. I said, can you tell me do you know anything? And then he said, yes, I seem to remember, now that you mention it, when we were kids, I was 6 when he left. He was, yes, I was 6, he was 9, and we hadn't seen him for 3 years. One of those stories. He says, I remember when we were kids, we would go to Aspromonte in Calabria in the mountains, and they would have these Sunday picnics, and Dad would play, and they would dance, because my father was a tarantella dancer. It was great.
Wow.
But that's the first time in my life I saw him pick up a drum, or even talk about it.
Right.
So I'm saying,
even though you were playing.
No kidding.
Wow,
Figure that one. I would say, like I said, I can't be mad at you because I'm really confused. But you never said anything. You come to all my concerts. You've been supporting everything I do. And what? So we finished the album. He came in. I had him play the whole thing, and he did it in one take.
Nice. Well, yeah.
So,
Session ace.
So then I said, that's my goal. Always take one take.
Yeah, that's a great story. I mean, it's amazing that he didn't say anything to you.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, like after all that time, that's incredible. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was a painful experience for him to stop. Right.
I don't know. I think it's just they went on, and I don't think it was. It was just what you do now is this, because that's your past.
You,
and
you come here, you work hard for the family to move forward. It's the story of every immigrant coming into Canada, right?
It's an interesting thing. It became a study for us for a while because we said this is really interesting. The identity of cultural identity and a loss of cultural memory from the village to the metropolis trajectory. Really interesting. But after all of that in your school, did you have formal training? Did you go to university or anything, or did you do it on the ground?
Well, I had a couple of key things happen. As I said, I ended up getting in the stage band, so I played that grade 7, grade 8, grade 9, starting to play like what was known as jazz rock back in the day, and jazz big band tunes. And I was into listening to a lot of Buddy Rich and Jake Hanna with Woody Herman and Peter Erskine with Stan Kenton. So I was checking out a whole bunch of big bandy guys, Count Basie, Duke Ellington, all that kind of stuff. And then I went to Westview High School for grade 10, 11, and 12. And I played in the stage band there. And I also played in the North York Jazz Ensemble, which was all the top players from all the surrounding areas afterwards. And then I played in an alumni band with graduates of the high school. So I was constantly being surrounded by older musicians who were better than me, and and being challenged by playing very difficult charts. But then in grade 11, my high school teacher was a young guy, a guitar player, Lou Bartolomucci, who came in, and this is how different it was, right? Back in the 70s and early 80s. He took a real shine to me and the bass player, Colin Barrett, one of my closest friends for many years. And he said, "You guys got to come to my house on the weekend, and we're going to jam." And so we did. We took the bus over to his house, took, like half an hour to get there or whatever, an hour. And we'd play like every weekend in his house, jamming on like Crusaders tunes, Chick Corea, Brecker Brothers, really hard stuff for me in grade 11 and Colin in grade 10. And then all this stuff, we were just, eating it up because he was feeding us all this great stuff. And he'd play guitar, he'd play piano. He was an excellent musician, and I think about that now. Yeah, my parents just went, yeah, okay, just go to your teacher's house on the weekend, no problem, right? There was never any thought about it other than being just music, which is what it was. But what a learning experience. And then from there, I went straight into Humber College. And from there, my first year, I was in Pat LaBarbera's jazz ensemble.
Nice.
That was a big deal for a first year to get that one. And then in the next 2 years, second and third year, I was in what was known as the A band, like the top big band, and just from there, and then just started working on the scene. I had the benefit again because going back to my dad, he also was a drummer, but he really wanted to be a singer. So at some point, he stopped playing drums and went out front. So now he was working with a ton of local musicians, and of course, like any proud pop, he's bragging about his son being this up-and-coming drummer. So he was, unbeknownst to me, laying the groundwork for me to come into the scene because people were hearing of me going, "Oh, you're Sam Kelso's kid." And my dad says he remembers the exact moment when it all changed, where he went from being, Mark Kelso is Sam's son, to, "Oh, Sam, you're Mark's dad." And he said he remembers exactly the exact place where he was, the Chicken Deli, where I was playing with some local artist, Paul Christopher, I think, and someone said, "Oh, you're Mark's dad." And he said it all changed from there, that now I was building my own reputation, and it was no longer, that's my son. It's like, I'm his dad. And it was kind of a funny moment for him that, oh, this is different.
Oh, yeah. Wow, evolution.
So great support, great family support. I used to tease my mom because my mom would clap on 1 and 3, right? And I say, "Mom, if you clapped on 2 and 4, imagine how much better I would be." And she'd always give me a scowl and go, disrespecting your mother, thwack. But no, really great support from my family and my teachers all the way up from junior high school to college. Really great support. Roger Flock, Don Vickery, my teachers at Humber.
Roger Flock, wow, yes.
Really pushed and challenged me. And then, of course, Pat LaBarbera challenging me in his ensemble. So, like, a lot of support. And then just, working with older guys, because I think I got on the scene with Joey Goldstein, a guitar player. He had a fusion band. And Terry Clark, the great drummer, had broken his arm, I think. And so now Joey needed a sub, and he went to my dad because he was working with my dad. He says, "Okay, Sam, I'm stuck for a drummer. Now you're telling me your son is good. Are you just, bragging about your son, or is he really good? Like, can he read? I've got some hard charts." My dad's like, "Can read anything. He could play anything. He's unbelievable. So I'm like 20 or something, or because I had been working with him already from when I was 17, and meeting people and working with my friends and stuff. But this was like now getting onto the scene at this Myers After Hours deli. We played from 1:30 in the morning to 3:30 in the morning, like from Tuesday to Saturday.
Wow.
It was a grind, right? Because I'd be trying to get up for school the next day, but working that late and then hanging out. So it was I missed a few classes whenever I do that. But that kind of got me on the scene with the local guys who were in the jazz scene. And all the musicians congregated there. So a lot of people saw me playing and went, oh, who's this new kid?
Right.
And it just went from there. So some luck and people being super helpful and supportive.
You made me remember of Terry Clark when he had broken his arm, and it was his left hand, right?
Yes.
I remember I saw him with Jim Hall
playing one-handed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
was like, come on, give me a break.
and if you closed your eyes, you wouldn't have known it.
No, I know, right? I know. I remember, yeah.
Terry's a genius.
Yeah. And he's still playing. He's like 80-something now, and he's still gigging like as much as he ever was. I see him playing all the time,
Yeah. No, he's brilliant. And, at one point, I did classical and a jazz double degree at McGill, and I was... at one point, I said, I'm really not happy about my swing. I was going to New York regularly every month to study with different people. And I was also searching for that, how do you make this swing? So I called Terry and I said, Terry, I'm working on this and I'm not really content with it. I'm working a lot, but I can feel it that it's not it. He says, well, you have to study with Jim Blackley.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I said, okay, I don't know who he is. He says, oh, yeah.
Terry's guru. Yeah.
Yeah. So he says, I'll introduce you, but he's the guy you got to work with. So I called him, and then Jim said to me, I'll call you when I have a spot. He was charging, it was a lot.
I remember, yeah.
A lot, and he had a waiting list. He says, I'll call you, and when I call you, if you're ready, we'll do it. So months later, he called me, took the train to Toronto, 1 hour lesson. And for all of those who ever studied with Jim Blackley, the first lesson is
40 BPM. Yeah.
you know the story.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I'm thinking, I spent all of this money, and I'm not saying it. I'm saying there's got to. If Terry said there's got to be something, so I'm looking and I'm not quite understanding. I says, well, there's got to be something. I'm going to trust this.
Yeah.
But I said, I don't get it. I'm like quarter notes at 40. And then the lesson's over. He says, so I'll see you next month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do this 1 hour a day. And then the next lesson, it was like the skip beat, right? Where to place it, right? And then I said, I have to trust him. I don't quite get it. But if Terry said, and then all of a sudden one day it just dawned on me. Yeah. Then all of a sudden I said, wow, that is fixing it for you. That and understanding at least, then it takes you forever to get it right. But
yeah, Jim was a pioneer in Toronto. I mean, I knew him a little bit, mostly because he would send students to me at Humber and he would tell guys, go to study with me. But his teaching style was unique for its time back in the late 70s, early 80s, when I first sort of heard of him. And a funny story is I called him up for the same thing. I said, and I only lived not too far from him. And he said, oh, where do you go to school? I said, well, I'm studying at Humber College. And he said, yeah, I don't take Humber students. They have a different philosophy from mine. I was like, okay. All right, okay. So I never got to study with him. He, but years later, we laughed about that because he didn't remember. And I said, Jim, you turned me down. He's like, I did? Why? I'm sending my guys to you now. He's like, yeah. So it was kind of a funny cycle that when he saw me play, he's like, oh, I like that guy's style. Look at his hands and look at the way he plays, the rebound and everything. So he kind of started, throwing young kids my way at Humber, which was a very, very nice guy. I talked to him more on the phone than I did ever in person. But yeah, he was kind of groundbreaking for that slow tempo thing, because you're really learning spatial awareness. Yeah. Combined with fluidity of body motion that slow. It's almost like a Zen training, right? If you were doing martial arts, something like that. Slow is the way you can actually play fast. Just controlling everything like that. It's a beautiful premise, and I took it one third further by getting my students to play at 30 BPM.
Wow. Okay.
But with the metronome on the last triplet. If you want to curse me out and be really mad at me, give that a go, Aldo. Last triplet.
The last
30
triplet.
BPM. So it's on the skip beat.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I just sort of fell upon it, just experimenting, and I thought, wow, this is so uncomfortable. I feel like I'm gonna fall off the drum stool, But I got all my students into that because I really, really think that the benefits of practicing slow like that are unbelievable.
Yeah.
For every limb, because you can really focus on what you're doing everywhere without any kind of stress or panic or just, adrenaline, helping you get through it, and you're faking stuff. So you can really sort some things out. Whenever you have a problem, slowing it down is like my go-to.
Of course. But so I'm taking you up on this, by the way. So I'm gonna try it. I'm not joking, because now you get me curious.
Yes.
So do you keep it there and you have the hi-hat going as well, or only the ride?
No, everything. You're playing.
Everything?
You're trying to play everything you would normally play at a faster tempo at 30 BPM. So you're playing the comping between jazz comping with the bass drum, or try reading. It's like slowing your brain down to an impossible rate where it's really hard to even think. But the level of concentration that it builds, again, is like a martial artist. And martial arts is something that's been sort of co-aligned my whole life with drumming, the philosophy of it. And that they've gone hand in hand for me, because I think they really make a good combination. But you do it. I mean, you can start faster, but I never practice with the metronome on a downbeat. I want to own the downbeats, and I take away a bit of the power from the machine by putting it on the smaller beats. So I'll work on every kind of thing. And one of the hardest things I ever had to do, and it was like a real mind cruncher, was playing what I was saying at 30 BPM triplet on the skip beat, and then trying to go double time. My brain couldn't compute. I couldn't compute it. I was like, it was like I could not. It took me, I don't know, like a week to figure out where it was. And when I did, I was like, really? Because I thought it was going to be somewhere else, but it was not. It was like on an even smaller increment. Like, the thing is, the human brain, sometimes the increments that you're trying to study get so microscopic that you end up going down a void in a tunnel. It's really dangerous to go too far sometimes. And I know, like, guys like Dan Weiss from New York he was being, a few years ago, he was practicing at 10 BPM, and he was trying to get it down to 1 BPM.
Oh, I mean, that's insane.
Come on, what? Like, waiting a whole minute, But yeah.
No, I can see the benefit, because you're amplifying that distance and you're seeing it.
Yes.
But at 30, I could see that. Less than that, I mean, we had
it's a real uncomfortable sensation in your body to slow down that much, something that you're used to playing much quicker.
Right.
But again, it's a fascinating study on how even one limb can be completely out of sync. You go, okay, I got my ride cymbal going here at 30, my hi-hat, bass drum is great. Let me comp. What's going on? Hey, lefty, what are you doing? You're like, this. It's like a foreign entity on your body, because it's like real edgy, or it's like just not accurate. I mean, this really helps with your accuracy in subdividing.
Yeah.
It's wonderfully torturous. if I can play devil's advocate on the good and the bad side, but I had many students come back to me going, why why did you make me try this? It's so hard. I said, stick with it. And, and then they get it and they go, this is unbelievable.
Sure. And then, I mean, you at Humber, you also went on to be the chair of the percussion department for a long time.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. 16 and a half years I ran the drum department there. So
nice. So you had a chance to work with all kinds of people coming through in the college, because I mean, Humber College was like the big jazz college in Canada,
yes.
really. Right?
As Ted Quinlan said, he always liked to say, membership has its perks for the full-time employees.
Right.
And we're gonna play. Who do we want to get? Can we get this guy? Because I really like to play with him.
Nice.
So
Ted,
I've been very fortunate to play with some amazing people. Michael Brecker, Bob Mincer. Christian McBride, Maria Schneider.
Yeah.
Just the list goes on and on. John Schofield, Mike Stern. So many of my idols, musically speaking, and Donny McCaslin. And after a while, it just became about who's nice and who's not nice.
Okay.
Because the playing is always going to be fantastic, right? The playing is a given. But sometimes you'd be going, oh, okay, there's a weird vibe here. Or, wow, like Danilo Perez, when I met him, he's like, hey, Danilo, I'm going to play with you today. He comes up, oh, my brother, like, nice to meet you. It's like, oh, man, I love this guy. I really want to play good now. You know, and then some people would be kind of like, weird, standoffish.
Yeah.
So
Danilo is
the personalities between the really well-known musicians. Dave Grusin, wonderful, beautiful man. So nice, so sweet. Very complimentary. And you're thinking, man, like he doesn't have to say any of this. Yeah. Michael Brecker asked me for my business card after I played with him, and I literally said, "Why?" I was so confused. I said, why? You have the greatest drummers in the world in New York. He says, no, man, you sound good. Give me your card. I'm like,
nice.
I was sheepishly giving him, okay. I was just so confused by it, right? It was unexpected, but it's like, man, I've listened to this guy's playing for countless years.
Sure.
This is so exciting, and he's nice.
Yeah.
It makes it even better. Because how it is. You probably met drummers who you really go, wow, this guy's great. And you meet him and you go, oh, that wasn't how I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Well, at COSA, the workshops, you've been to Vermont.
Everybody. Yeah. You've met everybody.
And we've had a lot of people, and sometimes, I'd always meet them, before I invite them, I'd always meet them at either NAMM or PASIC or somewhere, just to be sure that the personality, because, a week you're living and working intensely with everybody, and, you have like 25 artists, you have the tech team, all these participants who come from all over the place. It has to be right and has to feel right, because you're at a table with Jim Chapin, everybody, Jimmy Cobb. Everybody is there. So it has to feel right, and you can't have like egos like above the ceiling, in the room, which is really nice. And guys like you, the same. And you said an interesting thing. What I found is, because as I was studying in New York, every month I was going down, and aside from learning the craft, and I was working hard, I was practicing it, but I learned something else that you brought out that I think is really important for anybody to think about. I learned humility with those guys.
Oh, yeah,
humility,
absolutely.
And you mentioned Dave Grusin. I used to be invited to all these sessions after my classes or lessons.
Nice.
So I met Gad, and Gad used to take me or invite me to many of his sessions in his little Honda Civic. So at the time, And I remember, it just made me think of Dave Grusin. There was one record that they were doing at the power plant or electric. I forget which studio, but it was Earl Clues, Heard It Through the Grapevine.
Okay.
Okay. Gad was on drums. Grusin was producing it.
Yeah.
Will Lee on bass.
Yeah.
So, I'm just in the control room, a fly on the wall, and just listening and like soaking it all in, because that in itself was another lesson, right? I'm learning.
Right.
I was starting to do studio work. So I said, this is my world. This is where I want to live. And just watching them work, how nice they were, how gentle everybody was, how respectful everybody is. Nobody brought in their baggage of attitude to the gig. And I'm saying, wow, feels so good. And I remember they were doing it live with Earl, with his acoustic guitar on that session. And they recorded a couple of tracks, came back in, and listened back. And meanwhile, the guys in the studio playing, Will is playing drums, Gad picks up the bass and starts fooling around, and they're fooling around. And they come back in and they listen, and Dave Grusin says, okay, let's do another one. And they listen for a minute, and I'm saying, they're going to do that again. That was like amazing. Right? I'm saying, I would have kept that. And then the engineer says, you want to take that one again? Yeah, we don't need that. And I'm thinking, oh my God. And then the next take is the one, and it was like the roof came in. Right. Amazing. But it wasn't about it. It was never about them. We said, okay, can I just try this? And I'm seeing that attitude, and I did that for a long time. For a couple of years, I was going down. Alan Schwartzberg, the great drummer, and used to invite me to his sessions.
Oh yeah, what a learning experience! It's incredible. It's indescribable.
And also, that humility thing really got me. Apart from learning, I'm learning how the language, how they treat each other, how they show up, and they're ready. And it's like, okay, how can I help? Attitude, right? And
that's it. That's the whole thing, right? Music first. They're there.
Yeah.
They're there to support the music in their role, and they understand that, and they don't have to impose their will on it for ego purposes. Gad especially, he's played on so many great things, where he's just kind of taking it easy, but then he gets to do his thing, like on some of those Lee Ritenour or Al Jarreau records or whatever, Paul Simon. He gets to put his creativity on it, and that becomes part of the reason why you would hire a guy like that. He can play simple and groove like crazy, but if you want that extra flair, him or Carlos Vega or Steve Jordan, Steve Ferroni, any of those, Rick Marotta, any of those great studio guys, they all had that humility and in their playing, which is why they all worked. That's why it worked with them being in those places.
Yeah. No, it's amazing to watch. It was like going to school. Just that when somebody would listen to a track and say, "I don't see any drums in this."
Yeah,
and I'm going.
Carl used to do that all the time, apparently.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about what you're saying is, because this is, when was this, back in the 80s?
Late 70s, 80s.
Late 70s. Yeah. So you were obviously much younger, and it sort of talks to where our listening levels are at and how we hear and perceive things based on now. If you were to go in now and see the same guys playing a session, you'd be sitting there going, yeah, probably got a better one in you guys. Because you can hear what they were hearing being older musicians and you being younger, so we're starstruck if we're in that environment right off the bat. But I remember very clearly going, when Gad came to Humber and he was playing something, and me and my buddy Gord Sheard were standing right beside him, and he just went into this thing, back, go back, and me and Gord just went, oh, and Gord said, it's like he's kicking me in the gut. And I said, damn, no kidding, man, And I looked at my students and I said, are you checking this out? And they were like, oh yeah, man, it's awesome. And I was like, oh, that's a weird reaction. Your reaction should be like, oh man. Like, they were not hearing it at the same level that me and Gord were, being older musicians.
Sure.
We were hearing something much deeper because our listening skills we had been doing it longer,
Yeah.
and they were, 17, 18, young guys just kind of going, wow, it's Steve Gadd. Oh, that's really cool. And they're listening to it at a high level, and we were listening to it now at a deeper level.
Sure.
So, if you had gone back to see the same band, you would be in that studio watching them going, oh yeah. And you would know that's probably not the one, or yeah, it's pretty good, but just because of your listening skills developing over time. And that's something that is very hard, I find, to tell students about because they want it fast.
No, absolutely. And you make a really good point. You remember you were here in Montreal when we did the COSA week in Montreal at COSA, at the studio. And Gadd was here also that same week. And someone made that comment because he went into this brush thing, but he also went into his famous just quarter note and groove, and then started adding these little things, and it sounded like he was not doing anything.
Yeah.
And some of the guys are looking at me, and I'm seeing in their faces that they're not understanding.
They're not getting it.
They're not getting it. And I'm saying to myself, like, wait until you grow up, kind of thing.
Yeah.
To really understand this. And I'm saying I can't. I'd have to explain it to you. But it's not the same. When you listen to it again later, it's like I listen to records now that I listen. Yeah. I have vinyl, so I sit down and I listen, and I say to myself, I never heard that before.
Yeah.
Right?
I was just thinking the exact same thing. But when you go back to listen to something and you go, oh, I always liked this, and you listen to it now, you go, oh my God, it's even 100 times better than I thought it was. Or, oh, this isn't as good as I remember it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's usually always the element that changes it is the groove. It's either grooving way harder, or it's grooving the same, but I'm able to comprehend it better.
Yes.
Or it's not grooving, but I never noticed it.
Yeah.
Right?
And
you get caught up in the flash when you're young. I listen to someone like James Gadsden now. You just go,
oh, yeah.
What is that? Like, what? Are you kidding me? Listen to that. You just go, that's, it stops you and just go, it's unbelievable. Like right now, I don't know if you listen to the band Little Feat too much. I'm going on a deep dive with Richie Hayward. Okay. And I'm going, I missed this band growing up. I just wasn't on my radar, but now... Right. I'm doing I play with a friend of mine, John Finley. He's got a Little Feat band. And I went, oh, okay, great. And I started checking it out, and I'm going, Richie Hayward is unbelievable. His time feel is so far on the backside. It's the same thing I'm talking about with Gadd. He hits something, and I just start going, oh, man. Like I start groaning because it's having a physical reaction on me. It's like it's moving my DNA molecules or something, right? Because physically it's making me respond in a way because of the rhythm. The rhythm is so deep and so groovy and such a pocket. It's either that or you just start laughing. When something's good, you just start giggling because you get giddy. You're going, this is ridiculous. It's just, In fact, it was at COSA where I had one of the most heavy experiences of my life. And that was, remember, when I was there, I think it was 2007. And you had Bernard Purdie and Antonio Sanchez were there. Yes, and I remember playing, and I remember Bernard coming in for my rehearsal, and I started getting really nervous. And he sat there, and he left. I was like, whoa, okay, wow, okay.
That's true.
And I saw him later. He said, oh, you were playing earlier. And I'm thinking, uh-oh, here it comes. And he went, yeah, man, you sound good. It was like, passed the Bernard test. But then when Bernard played later that night, it was simultaneously electrifying and terrifying all at once. And I remember Antonio Sanchez standing beside me going, why did they put me on after Bernard? How do I supposed to go on? And I'm thinking, dude, you're like Anthony, your thing is awesome, man. He says, no, I'm going to go up there and do the clavy stuff, but listen to this, it's crazy. He was freaking out because he had to follow Bernard. And I'm thinking, whew, yeah, I get it, because Bernard's thing was, it's hard to put into words how much intensity that man put on the drum set. And I was like, well, clearly this is why this guy worked, because this is insanely good.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And
when I
it
was
look-
younger, I would have completely missed that.
Yeah, and if you're not paying attention, because it looks so simple, right?
Oh, yeah.
Looks so simple. And here's another one, because I took lessons when I used to go to New York in that series. I would take lessons with Bernard. But the lessons would be just before his next session. So I would
Right.
be at the studio, right?
Nice.
So I'm sitting on the drums. I had the lesson, and he puts me through his grinder and his whole thing. and I'm listening to the drums, and I'm saying, boy, these drums sound really awful.
Right.
And I hope he has time to tune them up before the session.
Yeah.
So then we finish. I go in the control room. They do the gig. And I'm like, my jaw is on the ground. I've said, he didn't touch those drums. They sound amazing.
The way he's hitting them, right?
I said, so I got a long way to go.
It's funny, you meet people and it's, I call them defining moments. I remember once, a funny story, I had a lesson with Steve Ferroni.
Okay, wow.
Steve was funny, right? Steve wasn't really like a teacher guy, but he said something to me that I never forgot. He said, okay, Mark, play something funky. And I played it for him, and he started screaming at me. And he goes, Steve, right?
Yes.
He's got the British accent and that great laugh. He goes, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. You're lying to me. Stop lying to me. Tell me the truth. And I'm looking at him going, why is he screaming at me? And then I'm going, wait, what? What? He says, Mark, give me the sticks. And he sits down and just goes, boom, bat, boom, bat. He says, do you believe me? And I was like, wow. Yes. He said, play, boom, dat. It was unbelievable how just what he said changed my whole instinctive process about how and why I was playing and what I was playing based on the intensity of, are you telling the truth or are you lying to the people you're playing with? And I thought, wow, what a brilliant moment for me.
Yeah.
Just, one of those kind of things.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And those kinds of things are really important because when we're playing, some people just hit the drums and they're in time and it's something. And others are speaking, are telling a story. It's like a conversation.
Yeah.
You just say, it's like when you ask somebody, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm great. It's fine. Beautiful weather. It's nice. And there's no thought, right?
Yeah.
But I usually ask a question not because it's what the first thing that comes to mind, is because I want to know, how are you?
Yeah.
Then I would respond, well, I'm not going to tell them I hit my arm, I'm really sore. I said, no, I'm fine. I got a couple of things. But you're in the conversation. It's not like you say the three things you say when you meet somebody. And I think that's the difference when you're playing music, that you're in the music and you play what you would play in that context. And that's what you're talking about, and it makes a big difference, no matter what you play.
Yeah, the intensity and the giving it 100%.
And the intention, too.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. No, you said it well. And I think that's a lesson and a half. When somebody
I never forgot I never forgot that about Steve. He was so funny.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other things that I do, I when people study with me, I say, okay, I have to tell you this up front because I'm going to say it a million times. I don't teach rhythm because in my vocabulary, after all of these years, there's only one thing in music, and that's melody. Rhythm is just how you organize the melody. And that's what you're doing. You're playing melody and you're playing notes, cymbals, drum, whatever they are. You're playing melodies.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I would force my students to sing, and because it gave me a real clarification of how they were perceiving rhythm or melody. They would sing it really kind of stiff, staccato. There wasn't a lot of feel in it. And I was like, oh, well, is there any wonder that you sound really kind of stiff when you're playing? But
Right.
no, and if I had them sing and they're like, oh, I don't know what the melody is, I'm like, what do you mean? That's the song. If you're playing a song, you have to know the melody. It gives you all kinds of information about the form, the dynamics, lyrically what the song's about. I mean, you have to know all this stuff.
Yeah.
What are you listening to if you're not listening to the melody? You know, you might want to rejig the dial there and rethink what you're doing, because the melody's everything. You know, sonically, harmonically, and rhythmically. Because I talk about rhythmic distortion, and drummers can be very guilty of creating rhythmic distortion to wreck everything and make things just kind of like, like this. So you have to be aware rhythmically of what other people are doing to find something that works and also supports what they're doing. Yeah. Depending on in the context of musically what you're doing. Is it an improvised setting like a jazz thing where there's more interplay and things like that? Or is it a pop thing where you're just kind of keeping a straight pocket going through it? But you still have to really be focused on the melody. If there's a singer or whoever's playing the melody, you need to know what's happening there so that you can hear it and support it in all ways on the drums, lest you be guilty of making things sound bad. And I think that's the old saying about you can take a bad drummer into a good band and make them sound really terrible, or a good drummer in a bad band and make them sound much better. I think that's kind of what it is, that the drummer plays with clarity and supports everything and makes it all sound tight based on what they do. And it's a fascinating process to understand that or to learn it the first time.
Yeah. And I know also that you're a singer. I have some of your records, you sing. So that makes it more natural for you. I mean, look at Phil Collins. Manu Katché is a singer, same thing.
Levon Helm.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. Man, he killed me. What a drummer that is simple.
Oh, not really simple.
But he's playing the song. He's playing the song, and what you're playing is according to the melody, and that's what you're playing. You're creating melodies for the melody, right? Mm. Yeah, interesting.
And so many of the great jazz singers, like Grady Tate was a beautiful singer. I don't know if you ever heard him sing, but Grady could sing,
I did. Great, and a lot of people didn't know, but he always wanted to be known as a singer, not a drummer, right? Which was weird for me when I heard him sing, and he was great, but I always knew him as that incredible drummer who never called himself a drummer.
Yeah,
right.
And let's not leave out Karen Carpenter.
Oh my God, yes.
Right. I mean, I read her book. I mean, it was a very sad autobiography, but really sad. Yeah. But she just wanted to play drums, man, and they were like, no, you got to get out front and sing. But I want to play drums and sing. Say, that can't be done. You can't do that. She caught all this heat for wanting to do what she did. And she was a really good drummer. Yeah. You've seen those videos of her in the 70s. Yeah. You're just going, she's like 18 years old, flying down the drums like Buddy Rich going.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I saw them live, the Carpenters.
Oh wow! I
was a kid, and I remember her. This girl who had a voice of an angel.
I know,
and played drums like.
Yeah.
What?
Really, quite a wild combination for that era. There were probably more, but amazing, right? Just amazing.
Yeah. There's this drummer that for years I was trying to dig up and find for Kosa, because I said there's some of these people who either they're known or not so known, like Jimmy Cobb. I finally got him to come to Kosa, and he said, Aldo, I'm not a teacher. No, you have to come. I finally convinced him, and then when he was in the room with, we had like 5 or 6 classes, and small classes, as you remember, and there would be like 10 people in his class, and he's sitting there at the drum kit and looking around, and he's so I helped him. I started the thing just to get him going. I said, in kind of blue, what were you thinking when you were doing So What, for example? Like, all we hear is this thing that doesn't move, but what were you thinking? And then, of course, I had to send the tech team, Reg and everybody, to get him to stop because everybody had to go to eat.
Yeah, just open the door.
I said, get him. There are more classes going on. You got to stop. But some of these people, I'm really happy we got him. But there are a few that we missed, of course. And there was one lady. Speaking of this what was her name? She was a big band drummer back in the day.
40s, Violet, was it
Violet? Yes.
Yeah, Violet.
Yes.
I've forgotten her last name. But yeah, no, I did look her up when with Facebook now, things always pop up and you go, who's this?
Yes.
She was a big band female drummer in the 40s. How come I never heard
Amazing
of her,
drummer. And I finally got a hold of her. And yes. And we were talking about she was going to come out and she was like in her 90s.
Yeah.
And I says, you don't have to play. I just would like you to be there just because, this female drummer is not a new thing. Is people have done it for years. And you were one of the people that, all of that. I said, it's really important to us. And anyway, but I mean, she lived to 99?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And I mean, there are all these great drummers that sometimes they just don't get the spotlight for whatever reason. Others do, and it's for those of us who are paying attention, we try and catch as many people as we can in our learning process.
Look at Annika Niels. She's in the biggest seat known across the North America.
No kidding.
I mean, holy cow. Woo.
This will be interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
Says I didn't see that one coming, but I said, you know what?
She will kill it. She will kill that stuff. She has my full support. I just hope the rabid fans, can give her some credit,
Yeah.
not only for playing that stuff, but for taking on that position, because the scrutiny will be unbelievable.
Sure. Oh yeah. And you have to be ready.
If it was a man taking the thing, I think it could even be worse, because then they'd be just hating whoever, because it wasn't Neil. They'd be hating it. But now that's a woman. I just hope that people, give her a shot and go, because there's no way she's going to sound bad.
No. She's a great drummer.
She's too good a player to sound bad at all, right? She's going to kill it. But will it be identical? I would hope not. I hope she does her own thing.
We'll see what they're. I mean, Getty and what they're thinking. I mean, it's a tribute to Neil, of course, and that's pressure enough. And I remember when Neil would come to town, he would invite me to the concerts, and I would see like 18,000, 20,000 people playing the fills. All the fills. So I'm saying to myself, when I heard about Annika, I said, they're going to sit there and they're going to play, and they'll want to hear exactly those. So.
Yeah,
this will be interesting.
That would not be fun for me to play something note for note like that. That would be, for me, just not very creative or not fun. I would get somebody else. I'm not your guy to play it note for note. That's not my thing.
Yeah,
I want to play what I would play in any given circumstances.
Yeah, and you're known. I mean, I've seen you with Gino Vannelli, for example, who's
right.
I mean, that was a great gig. I mean, these kinds of things are all references when people say, "Oh, for this you need Mark," for example. It's not like you send in your resume, right? It's all what you've done. The decisions you've made have taken you to a place where people have heard you. You have to show up, in other words, and you have to do the work, of course. And I mean, you sounded great with Gino, and Gino's a drummer, as you know.
It was my dream gig from when I was 18 years old. As I said, one of the first records my dad had was "Powerful People" with the great Graham Lear. And I'm really happy that I know Graham. I have him over to my house in the summers for barbecues. We get a whole big drummer hang. And, I'm still like a giddy fanboy because he was so pivotal in my education at a really young age. I played to that Powerful People record hundreds of times. And so, and then that turned me on to the other Gino records. So by the time that Gino called me to do his thing, I knew all his material like by the back of my hand. So when we went in and did any of those older tunes, I knew them, had been playing them. In fact, when I played Brother to Brother at the first rehearsal in Montreal, with all the great Montreal musicians in the band, right? He said, "Wow, Mark, you played the hell out of that. That was great." I said, "I'm just kind of basically playing. I know this song so well that I can't not play Mark Craney's entire drum feature.
Right.
I mean, there's me just saying in 1 minute ago, going, I'd hate to do the same thing. And I'm literally saying that I did it for that song, only because the drum part for me on that song was, I took some liberties, but the groove-wise, I knew what the groove was. So I just, played a lot of that I like to say I can play it in the style of the guy who originally did it, but I'm going to make it my own, and it'll never be the same thing twice.
Sure.
But he was super complimentary, and I know people had said that he was difficult on drummers, but I got to say, he never gave me heat about anything.
Right.
Well, I think one or two times he might have said, "Can you play more?" And I'm like, said no frontman ever to the drummer, "Play busy or what? I need more fills here." It's like, are you sure? Because I feel like I'm borderline, just about to cross the line here on tasty and tasteless. But no, he was great for me to work with. And the only reason I left that gig was because my wife was pregnant with my son, and I just didn't feel good about going on the road and leaving my wife at home and missing all that stuff with a newborn baby. I didn't want to miss a second of it. I went and talked to him, and he was beautiful about it. He says, "Mark, you're making the right decision. Family first.
Yeah,
I fully support you. We part friends. I hold no ill will. And he has actually called me to sub a couple of times in the last couple of years when his drummer Reiner, he was not available because he plays with some other band as well, and he was some conflict. But I was never worked out because I think it'd be fun to go back and do the gig one last time at an older, more mature even perspective to play the tunes.
Yeah,
just because I lived with that music for so long as a kid that it's really what's the word? It's romantic to me. It's just a really sentimental. That's the word I'm looking for.
And the nice thing about what Gino was doing, it was he was a drummer, musician, great singer, and that whole idea, the original band, because they used to rehearse here, so it was like all of us in the percussion world were all friends. And John, one of the original percussionists, was at McGill. So we would always go to the shows. We'd all be there. Graham on drums. So you have drums, two percussionists, and two keyboard players.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Ahead of his time.
And the sound was amazing. It was
Everybody said.
Yeah, and it was like and it was a family, right?
Yeah.
And his brother Joe is a brilliant orchestrator. And I only found out last year, Dave Garibaldi we've been friends for years. He's been coming to Costa for a long time. And I never realized that Joe was producing all those, the band's records. Not Gino Vannelli's records, but Tower of Power.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Dave, are you serious? I said, yeah, he's been producing the band for years. And there are three. There's Ross in the band also, the three brothers. That was a family. And the whole brother to brother. He's, the typical Italians in Montreal. There's an area called Saint Leonard where a lot of the Italians lived. So when I moved here, the people would say to me, "Well, you're from Saint Leonard," and I thought that was a church or something. I said, I only know a few Italians here, some musicians, and they're all musicians. So yeah. But you also played with people.
Sorry, I did interrupt. I just got to say, I just want to point out that Garibaldi I've known, again, along with Graham, was one of my earliest influences on all those Tower of Power records that my dad had, and I feel very privileged to call Graham and Garibaldi friends. I've known David through Yamaha. We played a double drum thing back for the Groove Night in Toronto, and we've been great friends ever since. And we chat a whole bunch of times. I call him up or he calls me. I get random texts and whatever. But I got to just say, he's one of the most beautiful cats. As you know, Garibaldi is one of the most beautiful, humble cats you will ever meet in the music industry. And I love that guy so much. He's, just fantastic. You know?
Yeah.
But then I think about what you're saying about the Italians. I've been surrounded by Italians my whole life, ever since I came to Canada.
Well,
you know, there's so many Italian and Irish people here that I just was always around Italian guys. You know, I can't escape the Acapinti brothers. You know.
Oh, Robert, here's a funny story. We do this thing in Italy now, Cosa Italy in Calabria.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's in Catanzaro. We have a house in Calabria. We're
Nice.
300 steps from the beach, and I spend a month or two there. I have my studio there, and we decided to do a Cosa thing there. So it's in July, and so last year we did a collaboration with the Catanzaro Jazz Festival and the Conservatory there. So the director of the Jazz Festival calls me and he says, "There's a guy who says he knows you that we're bringing in. He's a Canadian." And I said, "Well, what's his name?" He says Roberto Kipinti, and he's going to be here. He's everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Roberto.
Oh, yeah.
And him and his brother, right? I mean, great musicians.
Yeah.
Nice. You've also played with, you have your own band, Jazz Exiles, is that it?
Yeah.
And you won 4 Junos?
As a sideman, I have 4 Junos.
Okay.
Yeah, and as a leader, I've been nominated 4 times.
Wow. That's nice. That's congrats. Man.
As a drummer composer, I think it's pretty good. Like 4 out of my last 5 records have been nominated for Junos. I still haven't won one, which was a kind of a drag, but you know, the 4 nominations out of 5 albums is pretty good.
It's very good. Congrats. That's fantastic. And I mean, you're doing a lot of work, a lot of things, which I have to say this because only recently I've always believed in the power of music. Of course, we all know that, the importance of music education and performance. But there's one other thing. I have a lot of friends that after a while they get to a certain age and they say, "Okay, time to park my skates, hang up my skates," and I never got that. You know, I can't stop. If I stop, I don't know what would happen. I can't. I don't know how.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I would tell Greg Bizanet, "Greg, please tell Ringo never to stop until he absolutely has to, because as long as he, Paul McCartney, Mick Jagger, and all of these guys are out there doing that, we're still those kids who are watching and feeling we're learning and you're leading the way. So please don't stop." And then
three of the last concerts I saw were all people in their 70s. I saw Peter Gabriel when he came by. Brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Then I saw Bonnie Raitt. Unbelievable. Just making me just slide out of my seat. So gorgeous. And then I saw Michael McDonald with the Doobie Brothers.
Wow.
And there were moments of just sheer exhilaration where I just yelled because he hit notes. I just go, "Oh my God, what?" All in their 70s, all killing it.
Yeah.
It was just like, man, yes.
Yeah.
You know, look at music and what it can do for people. It's incredible.
And and I decided in my mind, I said, I'm taking it up a notch. Of course, we know we know how important it is, the wellness it does, and I've made presentations to the Canadian Senate about, we know all of that. But what about it's Canada's 5th top economic engine? You know, then you have to talk a different language for people to say, what? I see a $1 in, $29 production, and the money doesn't end up in a Swiss bank account.
Right.
You know? It's actually productive. But now I said beyond that, I'm saying, what is it about Paul McCartney and all of those people who we've grown up with, that why they're doing it? It's the same reason we've been doing it. It's we are better mentally, physically, we live longer, and it keeps us alive, whether we realize it or not. Because I'm looking at some of my friends who, I would be doing the TV shows with, I would be doing the sessions with, and now they're, comfortable on their boat and fishing or whatever, and they're not really there. They're not present, and I can see the difference, and they're not playing music anymore. That means somewhere they're depreciating themselves.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
you
live, it makes you live all that pressure, right?
Yeah. I understand it. Because I have met people who have retired, and I understand it. I get the appeal of the daily grind of practicing and gigging and hustling and all that stuff. Because it's like music is like training for the Olympics forever. Yeah. It's not like it's going to come here and then we're done and that's it. I move on. It's forever. And as Roberto Acapinti likes to say, no one retires from music. It retires you. Right?
Well said.
These are the kind of things. So I get where some people are doing that. But for me, it's not in the cards. I still, last night I was playing with a big band and I'm looking at all these guys and it's a young big band. So I'm 62 and I'm looking around. These guys are some of them in their 20s. And in their 30s, because I was filling in for a Christmas concert, right? And we'd show up, sight read, and then play the gig, kind of thing. 2 sets of music, and afterwards, a lot of these young kids who didn't know me or anything come up and say, "Wow, man!" Like, shaking my hand, going, "Wow, it was great to play with you. I mean, you made it so easy and so clear." And I'm thinking, all right, okay, I'm still doing something right. In terms of playing the music and trying to, come on, guys, let's play. Let's get out there and do that rather than phone it in.
Right.
The concept of phoning it in is long gone for me. I just don't understand that. It's like, especially, how it is. The older you get, every gig is like precious because
sure.
Is this it? Is this the last gig? Or
you never know. You never know.
So, you see these older guys doing it. They're doing it because they know time is limited. McCartney's going, this is probably the last time I'm going to get to do this.
Yeah.
He's what, 84?
83.
80, something like that?
Yeah.
He knows inside that this is it. This is the last hurrah.
Yeah.
He's not going to be doing it at 88. It's just, the body will say, nope. So, and plus, when you love it, it's kind of, how can you give it up?
Yeah.
There's that. So going back to what you're saying about some people, that's it, time to quit, or other people going, I'm not ready yet. So, when I play with Eladio Duran, 10 years older than me. He's 72. Still lightning fast. Still lightning over the piano. I'm like, dude, come on. But he's not gonna phone it in. He's gonna go for it.
Yeah.
Bill King is 80, still playing. I'm thinking,
Bill King is
wow.
80?
Yeah, Bill, yeah.
Wow.
But he's in great shape from all the bicycle riding and basketball playing for 60 years of that. He's in incredible shape, and the guy's working harder than anybody I know at 80. It's like, man, wow. There's someone who's like, no, I've just finished my 7th book.
Right.
And you're 80. It's like,
Yeah. No,
some people
and
just go,
yeah.
and then done.
Yeah. No, when it's time, I mean, we don't have control over that moment or whatever happens. But in the meantime, we can get a lot done, have a lot of fun, do things that we can because now we understand better.
Yeah.
Right?
I just remember one thing I wanted to point out earlier about you talking about playing and practicing your ride cymbal. I remember one time, do you know Don Vickery? You must know Don, right?
And not personally, no. I know who he is, yeah.
Don is a great jazz drummer, beautiful teacher, and a great guy, hilarious. I remember one time, and this was one of those moments where things kind of clued into me the way I thought moving forward. At the time, I think he was maybe about 74, and he was in the practice room, and I walked in and said, Don, don't you have a lesson right now? He says, yeah, a student didn't show up. I said, okay. Well, who was it? Let me know. I'll, bust their chops. He says, I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm just practicing. I said, Don, you've been playing drums for what, like 65 years? What are you practicing? He says, I'm just working on my ride cymbal. I go, okay. And he goes, it's almost there.
Wow.
And I went, oh, yes, that is beautiful. Thank you for that concept. He'd been doing it for 65 years. He's like, it's almost there. Chasing the refinement of something we've been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was a really beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Never, yeah, it's, why do I need to practice? It's like, I'm still working on it. It's almost there. I said, oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
And
I think we're all in a perpetual state of it's almost there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a work in progress. I mean, I'm still practicing. If I don't practice an hour or two a day,
Yeah.
I don't feel good, you know. And then somebody said to me, actually, Aldo, you've been doing this for a very long time. You've done like all kinds of stuff. You still have to do that? I said, every morning. And I was fortunate because I had the group Repercussion, so I was not only just playing drum set, I had to keep everything up.
I know.
So I would wake up, I'm not kidding, I would wake up every single day. I had my 5-second panic that I would forget.
Yeah.
So, you know, today I'm playing vibes. The other day I'm playing congas and a drum set. So you have to always be sharp, and I love that. And I wanted to prove that it can be, just because I loved it all. I didn't want to be only, one thing. There are guys who are great at one. I just didn't have that personality. But every morning it was the panic, and I still have it. You know, so every day I come to my studio.
Part of the routine.
Yes. I wake up and I say, okay, I'm here, still here, good. And then I come in, I say, okay, today I'm attacking this thing or that. So this is, the choice.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you had seen my table, my upstairs table at the beginning of the month, there were 14 folders of 14 different bands of all original music. And it's like Celtic fiddle music, Brazilian music, Afro-Cuban music, West African stuff, big band, some pop stuff. It's like just a litany of all these different things. I was going, okay, let me look at I gotta, which is who's first, which gig's first. Okay,
Right.
this one, let's go over this music, make all the notes, but man, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I'm bragging.
No, absolutely. And I tell my students, the day you think you've arrived, sit down with yourself.
Yeah.
And that's a bad sign, very bad sign, because it's always like that curiosity that keeps us wondering, keeps us saying, I could do that better, and it's not quite that, and that curiosity of making it better, sound better, or sound, or something else you could do that, just like your idea of putting the pulse on the skip beat, which I will do, and I'm gonna let you know how long it takes me.
I look forward to hearing from you. I look forward to hearing from you.
Now you got me on that one. I said, okay, now I'm adding one more to this, and I have to
Challenge.
Yeah, that's a good challenge. But talking about challenges, are there things that you're looking forward to doing? I mean, you've done a lot of stuff, and then at a point you say to yourself, okay, there's something I haven't done yet, and now I think I'm ready to do it, or I want to take it on.
Yeah, I started karate again at 60, and I want to get my black belt by the time I'm 65.
Wow.
I'm taking karate with my daughter, so that's my physical fitness regime. I'm currently at a green belt, so I've got a blue belt, brown belt, black belt still to go. So it could be I'm 62. I might make it. I might be 66, but that's kind of one of my big goals in life. Other musically speaking, I'm just really happy to be. People still call me. Because you start to age out at some point, and people stop calling you. But I've been very fortunate to still be hired by lots of people, and I'm still meeting new people who are like, "Oh, I haven't played with you before." Now I just got to meet more younger people because most of the people, when you're the youngest guy in the band, everybody's older than you. But last night I was definitely the oldest guy in the band, in the big band, like by a long shot. So. I think I'm just happy to play music, to create music and write music. I'd still if I do another record, it'd be nice to try and maybe get that Juno monkey off my back. But if not, no big deal. I'm really enjoying playing, and I'm happy to play music with good friends and good musicians, which incidentally was how I perceived my life to be at 13. I remember when someone talked to me in junior high school, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, This is before I knew that musicians don't actually grow up, by the way. But I said when I was 13, clear as day, I said, I just want to play really good music with really great musicians.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that has been my life. I mean, there's been some bad music and some bad musicians along the way, but for the most part, I've eradicated a lot of that out. I think I'd say about 95% of that I don't do. It's mostly high level playing with the top musicians, but I'm pretty happy with that as a life and just doing that for, this is my 50th year playing drums.
Nice.
Started when I was 12, and became a professional around 16. So it's a good long run, but I'm happy that it's still going. And as I say, I appreciate every gig more and more now that, I see a limited time frame on the fourth quarter of my existence. If that's what maybe I'm not in that, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're so fortunate to be able to do this and to have that I'm not going to say talent, but the craziness to do this,
yes.
the curiosity to do this, and the guts to do this with all the crazy stuff. But you don't want to do something else. This is it. I mean, this is, as long as you can do this, you wake up every day and you say, "Wow, that was great," and have that conversation.
It's never dull.
Yeah, never dull. That's it. And man, and it's worth all those hours in the practice room by yourself. People don't understand that part. If you're crazy enough to do that, then you deserve this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you look at it, how many people told us you can't make any money doing it? And, and I still run into people, they go, "What do you do for a living?" "I play the drums." They're like as your job?
Yeah.
For real?
Oh, yeah.
And they're confused and simultaneously, curious, my brother-in-law or my uncle, they play in a bar and a garage band, but they don't make any money at it. Like, how do you make money? It's confusing for them. They have no idea.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I play at, a very high level of quality of music, and I'm playing constantly, and I travel the world, and I've been all over the world, and it's a fantastic life. And they're like, "Really?
Oh,
wow.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I had no idea that even existed, So, there's something to be said for, going after and chasing your dream.
Yep.
And putting everything you have into it to make it work, which is what we have done and like many of the people that we knew. Sometimes they say music chooses you. You don't choose it. It chooses you. And if you're a lifer, you just don't stop.
That's right. And then having to explain it to people, it's always a challenge now. Before I used to say, of course I'm doing it, but now you can pull out that thing. Say, okay, can you read this? Can you read this? Should I go up? My arm can keep going, and that's what it is. And and it's an education process. And it's funny because I remember when I was at university, I was starting to do a TV show. I was getting out of university, so I went to the bank, and I said, the bank manager looks at me and says, "Oh, Aldo, I see you on TV. I see you here and there. Oh, congratulations, you're doing really well." And I said, "How can I help you?" I said, "Well, I need a $3,000 loan to buy a new drum kit because I don't have enough drums to run." Then he looks at me and he said, "You're self-employed, right?" I said, "Yes, and I've been paying off my loans, my student loans, like they're almost gone." And now he said, "But I'm not sure we can do that because I didn't have a job." I looked at him straight in the eyes. I said, "Okay, so you're telling me that I don't have a job. You see me on the TV and I paid off all my loans and all of that stuff. And you're not going to loan me the money to buy this drum set." He says, "Well, you don't have a job. You have no security." So I said to him, "Okay, I really like doing business with this bank. I'm going to move everything out. And I'm going to tell you something. Nobody can fire me because I don't have a job. But you don't have security."
Nice.
And
nice.
he said, he blew it off. until I met him at, sometime later. I says, "Are you still at the bank?" He says, "No, they cut down the workforce." So I said, "Well, I still can't get a job." I told him, and I mean, it was friendly. It was not aggressive, but they have to go by rules. But we know we get it together because music. There'll always be music, like And if you're,
I think every one of us has that same story.
Yeah.
My story was a little different, but had a similar result, but a different result. My dad always said, as a musician, you need to try and, this is back in the days when you could do this sort of thing, get to know your bank manager, because they need to know you as a person in order to trust you to take a risk on loaning you money as a self-employed musician.
Right.
So, when I was playing, I lived in the Beaches area, and I used to play the Beaches Jazz Festival, so I knew the bank manager because they were sponsors. So he saw me playing. It was the same kind of thing. He saw me playing. And then, but his angle was different. One day I'm walking in the beach, and I see him, and he's sitting with another man, and he goes, "Mark, this is George, our loans and mortgage manager. I want you to meet him because you guys have something in common." I'm like, "I don't think I have much in common with a loans and mortgage manager, or what?" And he goes, "Gretsch, 1969 brown badge," and he shows me a picture. It's like, "Ooh, George, that's a collector's item. Don't sell that. That's worth a lot of money." He goes, "Oh, I know. And we're chatting, and I'm getting along great. And he goes, "Oh, you interested in, have you ever thought about buying a house?" And I was like, "George, come on, man. Musicians buying a house, do you have a down payment?" I said, "Yeah, I got a down payment." And he said, "Come and see me. I'll see what we can do. Because I know how it is with musicians and taxes and all that stuff. I know how it all works. Come and see me."
Wow.
And he came in, and he looked at me, and he looked at my bank account. I had saved up a bunch of money, and it was when back in the 90s when the interest rates came down from 18% to 7%.
Right.
Right. So it was a big leap, and I did the math, and I thought I could buy a small house and pay the same amount I'm paying for rent. And he okayed me for like a loan for like, I think $200,000.
Wow.
Self-employed musician, and I remember the assistant bank manager looking at my accounts when we were going through this. He says, "Wow, you're in better financial shape than I am, and I work at a bank." "What do you do again?" I said, "I play the drums." He's like, "Huh?" He says, "Wow,
Nice.
You're one of the few, because we get a lot of guys who default." So anyway, back to George. He says, "Mark, do you have a gold card?" I said, "Nah, I have my Musicians Union credit card. I get turned down all the time for credit cards, because self-employed musician." He goes, "Here, you need a gold card." And he signs the thing, fill this in, and he signs it. And he sends it away. And I called him a couple of days later because I get a thing in the mail. "You have been declined for your visa, your gold card visa." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So I go in and say, "Hey, George, thanks for trying, but I got this in the mail. They turned down the visa." He's like, "They can't turn it down. I approved it. I'm the one who approves it. What are you talking about?" He said, "Let me see that." And he looked at it and went, he said, "You know what they did? They saw self-employed musician and didn't look down at the bottom to see that I had allowed it." And he picked up the phone. It's the only time in my life I've ever seen this. He says, "Hello, this is George from TD Bank. I'm here with one of my best top clients, and you just declined his gold visa that I approved. I want that card on my desk tomorrow morning by 9 a.m.
Wow.
Bang. And he hangs up, and I go, "What just happened?" And he says, "Mark, come in tomorrow at 9. I'll have the card for you."
Beautiful.
But that really clarified for me that, they just see self-employed musician, chuck it, nope, declined, without even reading the whole application. Yeah. So it was an eye-opener for sure. That just And then when I was college professor, oh, no problem, car lease, whatever, bank loan, you want line of credit, whatever you want. It was amazing. I'm still playing drums, but the designation of college professor versus self-employed musician, it was striking.
Yeah. No, you have to learn what I shouldn't say rules, but
how it works.
Yeah, what they work with, and then we have to live in consequence and organize ourselves. We have to be organized. We're entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
it's at some point it is a business, and you just have to prove that you're just as worthy as the as the other bank or another organization.
Yeah.
It's a different world, but still, like we show up for the gig, we're dependable, and then you have to show how solid you are on those other sides.
Yeah.
That's the nature of the beast. But I mean, it's about being organized. You believe in yourself, and you get organized, and you get it together. You learn. Okay, what key is this in? You don't play in a different key.
Yeah.
Right. And all of that. But it's all of these things are all related, right? At some point. Yeah. Anyway, we could talk for days. Yeah. But I want to thank you for taking the time and being on this. It's really nice to catch up with great friends, and like some old friends of mine said, may you have 200 years of this. I said, well, as long as I keep playing music, I'm good with that. Yeah. So thanks.
Well, it's been great to see you, Aldo. Thank you so much for spending time with me and chatting. It's great to catch up and hear your stories. This was really fun. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your journey and all of those decisions that made you and put you where you are and who you are. Thank you. Yeah. And as I always say, to be continued.
Awesome.